Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Gabriella.
And I'm Ruthie. Hear about not only a breakout of polio in Pakistan, but another virus taking the U.S. southeast by storm in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton and Helene.
Plus, learn about new holiday introduced to Pennsylvania celebrating South Asian culture through the state.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
At 5:30 a.m. on October 17th, U.S. officials got word from their Israel counterparts that Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar could be dead. Top American officials stayed in close contact with Israel officials throughout the morning as they waited for confirmation if Sinwar was dead or alive. There had been some leads about Sinwar's whereabouts, and the U.S. officials believed that the Israel military was getting close to the terrorist leader when it was relayed to the U.S. officials that the body found in the rubble in northern Rafah was Yahya Sinwar. Their military said that he wasn't in the intended target on their current operation. However, it was noted that just days before the one-year anniversary of the start of the Israel-Hamas war, and it was almost fate. The U.S. officials said, quote, "The news today did come as a surprise, a welcome surprise," end quote. President Joe Biden also commented, saying that for the Israel people, the death of Yahya Sinwar is comparable to how the American people felt when the death of Osama bin Laden was announced. Anthony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, also in contact with Saudi Arabian counterparts, said on October 17th he talked with them for an effort to end the Israel-Hamas conflict and secure the hostages after the death of Sinwar. Blinken said, quote, "The Secretary discussed an ongoing work towards post-conflict period in Gaza that ensures Hamas does not remain in power and provide a path for people of Gaza to rebuild their lives and realize their aspirations," end quote. Many are saying, though, that Yahya Sinwar's death helped the war efforts and has inspired a new hope in the Israel military to keep fighting for their cause.
On Tuesday, federal prosecutors announced criminal charges against Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps General Ruhollah Bazgandi in relation to a failed assassination attempt against a New York-based Iranian journalist. Prosecutors say that Bazgandi, who is based in Iran and unable to be detained by the law enforcement, alongside 6 other Iranian operatives, allegedly orchestrated the supposed plot to kill journalist and human rights activist Masih Alinejad. According to the indictment, the Bazgandi network has surveilled Alinejad as early as July of 2022. Bazgandi's operative, Khalid Mediev, was arrested near the victim's home on July 28, 2022. While in possession of the assault rifle, 60 rounds of ammunition, approximately $1,100 in cash, and a black ski mask. Alinejad has since reacted to the federal charges in a statement on social media on Tuesday, stating, quote, "I will not be deterred. Thanks to the law enforcement, I am alive to witness the Islamic Republic's humiliation. I am determined to echo the voices of millions of Iranians, especially women, who are facing the same killers within the country," end quote. Alinejad also added that she has moved 21 times in the past 3 years following an alleged Iranian plot to kidnap her in 2021. As of recently, the FBI released a wanted poster for Bazgandi, who is being sought out for on charges including murder for hire and conspiracy to commit murder for hire. Tragic health updates has befallen a beloved Olympic athlete who's taken the news like a champion. Reporter Annabella Gizzi has the story. Annabella?
Thank you, Ruthie. Chris Hoy, a 6-time Olympic champion, has revealed that his cancer is terminal. A second scan revealed primary cancer in his prostate that had spread to his bones after his first scan revealed a tumor there. He said when he first visited the hospital in September of last year after experiencing shoulder pain, his shoulder, pelvis, hip, spine, and ribs all had tumors discovered by the scans. Chris Hoy told New York Times, quote, "As unnatural as it feels, this is nature. You know, we're all born and we all die, and this is just part of the process," end quote. Hoy also discovered in the interview that a month after learning he had cancer, his wife Sarah revealed a multiple sclerosis diagnosis. CNN reported that Hoy said, quote, You may see in the news this weekend some articles about my health, so I just wanted to reassure you all that I am feeling fit, strong, and positive, and overwhelmed by all the love and support shown to my family and me. Onwards, end quote. Back to you, Gabby.
In the midst of Russian-Ukrainian war, North Korea has started sending troops to fight alongside Russia, with the alleged numbers beginning between 1,500 to 12,000 soldiers. This comes from a security meeting between South Korea's National Security Office, National Intelligence Service, and Ministry of Defense, which they called a potential military threat from both countries. They now pledged to implement countermeasures to Ukrainians, such as providing arms, with Britain following suit by providing $2.9 billion to Ukraine. A new storm has flooded parts of Europe, prompting multiple evacuations and casualties across the nations. Reporter Juliana Brock has the details. Jules?
Heavy storms and rainfall are leaving parts of Europe underwater. A low-pressure storm system named Boris is to blame for the worst flooding in more than 2 decades from Romania to Poland, killing 24 people in its path before moving west. Rivers in northern Italy have flooded, causing thousands to evacuate their homes and schools to shut down. This follows last year's slew of flooding in Italy, where 23 rivers flooded compared to 3 this year. However, the mayor of Ravenna, Michel de Pascal, told Radio 24 broadcast that this year's floods were more concentrated geographically. Thousands of people in Emilia-Romagna, a region near the city of Bologna, have had to evacuate, with 1 person reported dead after their car washed away. In the town of Lugo, located near Ravenna, authorities ordered all ground-level residents to evacuate their homes. In Calabria, a sinkhole swallowed an entire car when the roads collapsed due to mudslides from the heavy rain. The passengers of the car were not injured. The National Fire Department completed more than 500 rescues. For now, everyone anticipates the end of Boris, as it has been ongoing for the past month.
Pakistan was once nearly close to eradicating the disease polio, but is now seeing an alarming rise in cases nationally. Pakistan's health authorities have counted 39 new cases this year compared to last year's total of only 6. The case is likely related to the military falsely accusing vaccines of being a Western ideal used to sterilize Muslims. Pakistan is hoping to launch a new vaccination campaign on October 28th to hopefully vaccinate over 32 million children against the disease. After the break, hear about a fatal virus caused by the previous hurricanes that hit the southeast regions, and learn about a high-profile CEO that is under investigation for sex trafficking after a damning documentary released. Stay tuned.
People died and 6 are in critical condition after a ferry dock has collapsed on Georgia's Salapio Island. It was said that there was at least 40 people on the ferry dock when it collapsed, with around 20 people who fell in at 4 p.m. on Saturday, October 19th. The Coast Guard responded to the emergency, sending out 2 Coast Guard air crews and an MH-65 helicopter. Along with first responders, civilians were seen making heroic efforts, with some being seen on their stomachs, reaching into the water to help those that may have fallen in. Some even threw life jackets into the water, and other civilians helped first responders carry what seemed like a person on a makeshift stretcher made out of blankets. The Salapedo Island Church and Revitalization Society said, quote, "The Salapedo Island community is grateful for the outpouring of love and support, and we ask that you join us in praying for those families who were impacted by this tragedy," end quote. The events of what was happening before the ferry dock collapse was the island was celebrating their annual Cultural Day, a centuries-old tradition that has been maintained by the descendants of the West and Central African slaves along the coast of southeastern U.S. The island is totally sees around 100 visitors per year, but saw 700 people that day on this event and could be a contribution to the ferry dock collapse, along with the gradual decay of the dock. President Joe Biden commented on the dock collapsing, saying, quote, "We are heartbroken to learn about the ferry dock walkway collapse on George Lapidos's Island, which should have been a joyous celebration of Guala Geechee culture and history, instead turned into a tragedy and devastation," end quote.
In recent weeks, there has been a sudden uprise of flesh-eating bacteria cases in Florida after the state was hit with heavy rain and flooding due to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. The flesh-eating bacteria in question, Vibrio vulmoniscus, is a natural occurring bacterial infection that thrives in floodwaters when hurricanes and tropical storms force a mix of fresh and salt water into canals and rivers. The infected water carries pollutants, sewage, and debris. Treatment for Vibrio vulmoniscus may require limb amputation and could be fatal since the infection causes the skin and soft tissue around the infected wound to break down. According to data from the Florida Department of Health, there have been 66 cases of Vibrio vulmoniscus in 2024, outstanding the 74 cases in 2022 after Hurricane Ian and other storms devastated the state. Statewide, data shows that there have been 13 deaths linked to Vibrio vulmoniscus infections. About 150 to 200 cases are reported to the Centers of Disease Control each year nationwide. According to the CDC, about 1 in 5 people die from this infection, sometimes within only 1 to 2 days of falling ill. An expanded search for a missing actor is now underway as more evidence comes up, all except for his whereabouts. Reporter Annabella Gizzi has the story. Annabella?
Thank you, Ruthie. The South Carolina hiking trailhead where officials discovered 23-year-old Zelig Williams' car earlier this month is still being searched for. Richland County Sheriff's Department are widening their search of a missing Broadway dancer whose credits include Hamilton and MJ the Musical. According to Richland County Sheriff's Department statement, Zelig Williams was last seen at his home on October 3rd. Williams was spotted driving in the area of Congaree National Park in South Carolina. Later then, his car was found 20 miles away from his home in a parking lot for the Palmetto Trail, a hiking route that separates the state. The family reported him missing the next day. Kathy Williams, mother of Zelig, expressed her concern that her son is in danger. Williams' mother saw him leave home just before 10 a.m. on October 3rd. Fellow cousin of Williams, Corbett Jacobs, told CNN, quote, "At 10:10 a.m., 3 of his friends received an SOS ping from his cell phone, which is not a lot of time after leaving the house," end quote. An iPhone is programmed to automatically send out a SOS ping if the device detects a hard fall or a car crash. Zelig's family, along with the authorities, are expanding their search for Williams and are looking for assistance from the public. Back to you, Gabby.
Former Abercrombie & Stitch CEO Mike Jeffries is facing multiple lawsuits for involvement in sex trafficking ring from 2008 to 2015. The ring focused on recruiting males to exploit them at parties Jeffries was holding. This comes after a documentary released last year where 8 victims came forward with their stories of being forced to attend these parties and the sexual abuse that they suffered. U.S. Attorney for New York State Brevin Peace held a press conference on Tuesday morning addressing the case and how they are proceeding. "We have substantial evidence, we have traveled records, we have financial records, we have testimony of victims and other witnesses. So we think that we have a lot of evidence that corroborates the charges in this case." Along with Jeffries, 2 others were arrested for their affiliation with the ring. Matthew Smith, Jeffrey long-term partner, is being held for regularly attending the parties, along with James Jacobson, who's reportedly recruiting young men for these parties. The trio is facing an indictment charge with 1 count of sex trafficking and 15 counts of interstate prostitution. NewsNight will keep you updated on the progression of this case. A on-air helicopter tour for Worst After Crash in Texas. Reporter Juliana Brock has the details on what happened and who was affected. Jules?
4 people, including a child, were killed when a helicopter crashed into a radio tower in Houston, Texas. The crash took place this past Sunday just before 8 p.m. in Houston's Second Ward neighborhood. A fire broke out from that crash that spread up to 3 blocks away, but no homes or structures aside from the radio tower were impacted. No one on the ground was injured either, but the 4 passengers, however, did not make it. The helicopter was giving an on-air tour flight according to the National Transportation Safety Board. The helicopter did not have a flight data recorder as it was not required. However, the NTSB is searching for devices that have any information. The cause of the accident is currently under investigation by the NTSB and the Federal Aviation Administration.
This past Saturday in Lexington, Mississippi, 3 people were killed and 8 others were injured after 2 people opened fire after a high school football game. The shooting occurred several hours after the game ended at a tailgate celebration for the homecoming win. Authorities believe a fight that broke out moments before sparked the shooting. The local authorities are still looking for the suspects involved and are working alongside the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation. When we return, hear about the consistent campaigning done by a preceding president right in Pittsburgh. Also, an update on a former Point Park professor's court case results. Don't go away.
The murder trial of teenager Omar Toole with suspect Howard Hawkins began on Monday, October 21st. The murder happened back in 2021 outside of the Strip District where Toole worked at Petit's Pit, a Penn Avenue restaurant and bar that was owned by his mother. The suspect, Howard Hawkins, was thrown out of the bar fight with another customer just 15 minutes before Toole took his break. Assistant District Attorney Sarah Workhart told jurors, quote, "The team would have finished his break, wrapped up his shift, gone home, and enjoyed his day off the next day. However, we wouldn't be here if that was what had happened," end quote. The defense attorney, Ashley Kale, explained to jurors that the evidence that incriminated her client was a security camera footage outside of the establishment. It was faulty and it was hard to identify him. On the footage, it was seen that Hawkins went into his car twice, first retrieving something from his passenger side and then again heading to his vehicle before he spotted Toole on his break. Kale said, quote, "There were 15 long minutes where Howard Hawkins had the opportunity to leave and cool off," end quote. Kale also explained that when police arrived on the scene, they received a description of the alleged suspect saying that they were faulty and untrustworthy because many didn't see the suspect kill the teenager, just someone fleeing within the establishment. Kale said to jurors that the prosecution has a weak evidence against her client and said, quote, "You will find that the prosecution has fallen short," end quote. The trial is still underway with testimonies and more evidence that will continue later in the week.
Diwali has officially been made a state holiday after Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro signed a bipartisan bill into law. He deemed as one of the most significant festivals in South Asian culture, and more locally known as the Festival of Lights, Diwali symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness. According to Governor Shapiro's office, this legislation marks a significant moment for the state of Pennsylvania, celebrating the traditions of hundreds of thousands of Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs who live in the state. Taking effect immediately, the law designates the 15th day of the Hindu lunisolar month of Kartik as Diwali Day every year. The first official festival under the new law will be celebrated October 31st through November 1st. Although Diwali is now a state holiday, schools, government offices, and businesses are not required to close. According to the governor's office, the designation acknowledges the cultural significance of the festival and encourages Pennsylvanians to celebrate. In a statement, Shapiro states, quote, "Diwali symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and hope over despair, values that should help guide our Commonwealth. Pennsylvania is stronger because of its diversity, and this new state holiday is a powerful reflection of the inclusion, respect, and unity that we cherish in this Commonwealth. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to honoring the traditions and cultures that make our state vibrant and dynamic," end quote.
The 2024 presidential election is underway, and each candidate has taken the time to campaign in Pennsylvania almost simultaneously this weekend, with former President Donald Trump hitting key areas like Latrobe and downtown Pittsburgh. NewsNight reporter Kalyan Winder has the details on this impact. Kalyan?
I'm here in Latrobe for Trump's 2024 presidential election campaign rally, where former President Donald Trump, alongside other speakers, including many Republican politicians, and Antonio Brown, will be rallying for the people's vote. With the election less than 3 weeks away, former President Trump has started a fervent campaign around Pennsylvania in an attempt to win this crucial swing state. The rally in Latrobe gathered around 1,500 supporters, with many exciting moments to get the fans hyped, such as breakdancing performers, lines of campaigners with Trump masks, and a movie-like promo and music to set the scene. Before Trump arrived, the first guest speakers included former Steelers players Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, followed up by PA Senate Republican 2024 candidate Dave McCormick, praising Trump and promising to uphold the same values within his potential run. Then the former president made his entrance on his private plane and took the stage.
But beautiful Butler, Pennsylvania, we had a crowd, and you know, this is a hell of a crowd too, I have to tell you. It's happening all over.
During the rally, I asked multiple attendees on why they support a potential Trump presidency.
Because Trump acted. We got things done under Trump. We never got anything done under the Democrat administration. Clear back from Clinton, Obama, and now Biden. It's just been terrible. They destroyed our country.
Because America needs honesty in government. It needs to have the border closed. It needs mothers and fathers to be able to buy milk for their children. We need lower taxes so that people can prosper. And we also need cheaper energy.
I mean, just my viewpoints align with him way more than Kamala. I'm a registered Republican, personally. I just like the way he speaks confidently, tells the truth all the time. He doesn't hide anything from us.
He also made an ode to the Latrobe native Arnold Palmer, telling stories about their past encounters.
But Arnold Palmer was all man. When he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there, they said, "Oh my God."
He then went on to restate his values, such as cracking down on illegal immigration, fracking, support for Israel, and uplifting the steelworkers union that endorsed him. He didn't stop there this weekend, as he also made a special appearance working at a local McDonald's, criticizing Harris's statement that she worked there previously. Later that day, he went to the Steelers' home game to encourage the fans to vote. Overall, both candidates have campaigned hard within and for this crucial swing state. Now we have to see the results of his campaign rally tour in November. This is Kalyan Winder reporting for UV Television.
Voter registration is closed. It's now time to plan your polling visit or send in your mail-in ballot. Have an impact on this pivotal election year. Be sure to tune in to UV Television throughout the week of November 5th to get all your election updates, including our live coverage show on Election Day. Now, hear about the closure of a historical prominent Pittsburgh bridge after concerns for safety. Reporter Gavin Petrone will tell us all. Gavin?
Thanks, Gabby. This past Saturday, the city of Pittsburgh announced that Panther Hollow Bridge in Oakland would be closed to traffic indefinitely amid a, quote, abundance of caution, end quote. The bridge, which first opened in 1896, connects Phipps Conservatory to Anderson Playground in Greater Oakland. Detours now direct drivers to take Shenley Drive and Whitman, as well as Beacon and Hobart Streets. Top engineers cited concerns with the corrosion of steel trusses holding the bridge as the main issue driving the closure. Larson Design Group, an engineering consultant hired by the city, found the corrosion issues during a review to check Panther Hollow's maximum load bearing. Mayor Ed Gainey and other spokespeople said that consultants continue to review the bridge to determine how long it will need to remain closed. Gainey oversaw the 2022 collapse of Fern Hollow Bridge in Pittsburgh's East End, which injured several drivers. Federal investigators blamed the city for ignoring the corrosion of the bridge until its collapse. Since the collapse, Gainey has exercised extreme caution within the structural safety of Pittsburgh's bridges. Gainey said, quote, "I don't ever want to wake up to another Fern Hollow," end quote. In the past, 2 reporters from both the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation and engineering consultant WSP USA cited Panther Hollow as being in, quote, fair condition, end quote. WSP also noted that problematic bridges would require $471 million in improvements over the course of 31 years to be safe for drivers. Panther Hollow now joins Charles Anderson Bridge, the only other major traffic bridge in Shenley Park enclosure. Both were shut down to vehicles due to concerns with corroded load-bearing steel. Fortunately, Charles Anderson will soon undergo improvements, with its $56 million renovation project commencing this past Monday. It is set to be complete sometime in 2026. City officials said that while detours from bridge closures are frustrating, they are necessary for the safety of drivers regionally. Former professor of communications James Begley, 37, was sentenced to 90 days probation after pleading guilty to harassment charges in late July. His probation ends next Tuesday, October 29th. In a plea deal, his previous charges from February of endangering the welfare of children, simple assault of a victim under 12, and a defendant 18 or older were lessened to harassment. A lower court also previously withdrew Begley's charges of unlawful restraint and strangulation, also brought in February. Since his arrest, Point Park has not brought Begley back on board.
The fall season is upon us, and this means it's time for a cherished holiday, Halloween. Point Park is getting into the spirit with tons of fall-themed events, including the Pittsburgh Playhouse Boo Fall Fest. Our reporter, Robert Fornatero, has the scoop. Robert?
The spirit of fall has arrived in downtown Pittsburgh as the Pittsburgh Playhouse hosts its first ever Fall Fest. Over the next 10 days, this event will offer a mix of live performances, family-friendly activities, and local vendors, inviting the entire community to celebrate the season together. Fall Fest, running from October 17th to the 27th, brings Forbes Avenue to life with a vibrant street festival on weekends, closing the street down to create space for live music, games, and pop-up food vendors. One of the festival's highlights is Boo's Halloween House Party, a playful Halloween-themed musical directed by Point Park alum Ahmad Simmons.
Yes, I saw one cast on Friday, and I'm seeing a different cast today because they each bring something new to the character, so I'm really excited to see it for the second time.
The interactive show offers several performances daily, ensuring both kids and adults can enjoy the fun. The festival not only celebrates the arts, but also aims to foster community engagement, encouraging residents and visitors to explore everything the downtown area has to offer.
Oh my gosh, event, I think probably the painting pumpkins. There's so many cute ones over there, and the kids look so happy.
With activities for all ages and multiple opportunities to experience live entertainment, the Pittsburgh Playhouse's Fall Fest offers something for everyone. As this event continues through October 27th, there's still plenty of time for you to come out, explore, and check out all it has to offer. Reporting from the Pittsburgh Playhouse for UView Television, I'm Robert Fornatero.
The Boo Fall Fest is not over yet. Make sure to check it out throughout the weekend to get festive.
People were injured after a car accident happened Sunday evening. The accident occurred around 6 o'clock along Parkway East, I-376 near Grant Street and Forbes Avenue, along with eastbound lanes. The accident involved multiple vehicles, and at least 3 people were taken to the hospital. It is unknown what was the cause of the accident, but everything was cleared, and lanes were back open an hour later around 7 o'clock. When we return, about a zoo introducing new remarkable cubs to their exhibit, plus your weekly weather update. Don't go anywhere.
Three, two, one. Take them cue and open their mics.
Today marked the 1-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette strike.
Point Park University just hosted a campus-wide meeting.
Plans for the rapid transit bus line are not set to conclude until 2025.
Apollo Zoo has announced the birth of 4 endangered tiger cubs in their care. The Samaritan tiger is considered a critically endangered species, with only an estimated 400 of the species still alive today. While the cubs were born back in July, the zoo kept their birth a secret to avoid pressure from attendees until the cubs provided to stay in good health. The cubs now represent 1% of the remaining population of Samaritan tigers and were raised in complete seclusion. All the cubs are healthy and under the care of their mother, Nuri, and their father, Tengu, an unusual practice for male tigers. There are 3 males and 1 female, which bodies well for the future breeding, as the female population currently vastly outweighs the male. The zoo is one of the 50 that currently care for the species. Zoo Patreons can now see the tigers at the Wrocław Zoo in Poland. Pittsburgh weather has always been chaotic during fall season. Is it too warm to wear a sweater, or is it too cold to wear shorts? Well, luckily for you, we have your local Pittsburgh weather update with weather reporter Leslie Krebs to update you on what's happening in the Burgh. Leslie?
Thanks, Gabby. These past days have felt more like summer than the normal fall weather we were expecting in October, and tomorrow's weather will be a testament to that. We're expecting to see a high of 62 degrees, not too hot, but definitely not too cold enough to bust out those heavy winter coats. The low will come during nighttime, as this will feel around 40 degrees, a steep drop from the early 60s and late 50s we'll see in the morning and afternoon. And true to the summer-like weather, we are expecting no rain and only partial cloud coverage. The first part of the week will look almost the same, as the temperature will stay around the early 60s and the late 50s. However, as the week goes on, it will get warmer and warmer, reaching all the way to the mid to the late 70s. Make sure to check the weather to stay up to date.
Tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or on our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Ruthie Light.
And I'm Gabriella Waite. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.